Right, I will get started. Welcome, everybody. My name's Damian Murphy. I'm the director of XR Network Plus, and I'm going to be looking after you this afternoon with my good colleague, Dan Norman, and enabling us to hear from our amazing speakers talking about the fabulous projects that they've worked on with XR Network Plus. So let me just put up some slides, get my screens organized, just as by way of introduction. Thank you, Dan, for letting us know about the recording. So here we go. Just make sure. Does that look all right? My colleagues? Yeah, good. Okay, so welcome properly now. We're here as part of our XR Network Plus seminar series to talk about exhibition and XR. And we're going to be listening to two projects that XR Network Plus has funded over the last year or so that are exploring how XR technologies are changing the ways in which exhibitions are presented to audiences. First of all, we're going to hear from Claire O'Brien, who's based at Teesside University, with her colleagues Ellie Land and Lucy Wheeler to discuss their project investigating full body interactions within public spaces for XR exhibition. And the team have been working towards developing a site-specific interactive art experience that uses depth sensor cameras, game engine software, and AI to share narrative of the North Shields fishing communities. Then we're going to turn to Accessible Hybrid Performances project from Donatella Barbieri and Ben Turnbull at London College of Fashion. And Donatella and Ben will share the outputs of two case studies that both use volumetric capture to explore how museum exhibitions of different cultures can hold onto their cultural context and specificity. So first of all, a little bit, I'm sure most of you know about XR Network Plus, but just in case you don't, I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction to sort of explain why we're all here this afternoon before we get to the real sort of, the stars of the agenda. Next slide, there we go. So XR Network Plus virtual production in the digital economy is an EPSRC engineering and physical sciences funded project that provides funding and support to researchers working in virtual production and XR technologies in whatever context that technology finds itself, with a focus on the digital economy, so creative industries and outside of the creative industries. And through our networks of partners, we are setting a research agenda for this area of virtual production, supporting the growth of the economy and facilitating collaboration between academia and industry. And we're going to be doing this we're about just over halfway through the project now, with a view to starting to think about the work we've supported already and to focus now on what the future is going to look like as this technology landscape has already changed, to try and set this research agenda that hopefully will be of use to our communities into the next 10 years or so. It's a project that's led by the University of York, that's where I'm based, in collaboration with the University of Edinburgh, the University of Arts London, Cardiff University and Ulster University, handily covering the 4 nations of the UK, as you can see there. But since then, our network has built up considerably through all the projects that we've supported and enabled, and individuals that we supported and enabled through some of our other activities, focused on where we are based at York, but spreading the web out wider across a greater part of the UK in general, through university and industry collaboration. And so research collaboration, co-creation and challenge-led innovation are the cornerstones of our activity. The project is building this community, extending this community at the convergence of ideas, technology and creative practice to deliver impact and opportunity for the whole of the digital economy. As I say, most of what our work is focused in the creative industries, but there are projects that sit outside that and use these technologies in different ways, and we're very interested in how those are deployed as well. So the format for today's seminar, each of our presenters will speak for 10 minutes. First of all, we'll hear from the Investigating Full Body Interactions Within Public Spaces project, and then Accessible Hybrid Performances team. And then there's an opportunity at the end for about 15 minutes of Q&A from both presentations. We've got some questions prepared based on the projects as we know them, but we're more interested in what you, our audience, have got to say. So please do submit your own questions for either or both projects, and use that using the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom window, if you would, please. And you can do this at any point in the seminar. Don't just wait till the end. And if we haven't got a number of questions emerging or bubbling up, then I'll sort of drive the conversation a little bit. And we hope to be all wrapped up by about 2:50 this afternoon. So again, thank you very much for your attendance. That's enough from me. I'll do a few notices at the end as well, just to let you know what to look out for in terms of our project. But without further ado, let me hand over to the first of our presenters. That's Claire, Ellie and Lucy, here to discuss their project investigating full body interactions with public spaces for exhibition. And I shall stop sharing. Over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Ellie will share our slides. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to hear about our project. My name is Claire O'Brien, and I'm the project investigator. I work at Teesside University as a senior lecturer in computer animation, and I'm working with an artist and animator, Ellie Land, and a nominated filmmaker as well, and creative technologist Lucy Wheeler. They might want to give themselves a little bit more intro than that.
My name's Ellie Land. I'm a filmmaker and animation director, now sort of newly exploring sort of narratives in immersive spaces. And I also am a lecturer at Teesside University.
And I'm Lucy Wheeler, a digital artist, creative technologist, specialising in immersive projects that incorporate interactive experience, digital storytelling and XR. And mine and Ellie's collaboration works across animation, documentary, immersive storytelling and installation. And we're driven to create meaningful interactions and conversations that inspire communities to connect with one another. So as a duo, we are creating immersive, interactive experiences, exploring personal experience in relation to our biosphere and social realities.
And this particular project, as we've said, is investigating full body interactions within public spaces for XR exhibition, and it's related to the fishing community in the northeast of England, in particular North Shields. So if we move on to the next slide.
So the aims of our research, so we've been exploring interactive and experience design for real-time immersive installation through a series of workshops with dancer Anthony
Lodici, sorry.
So the piece challenges how extended reality and real-time technology can progress into public spaces through, and these are our aims, an AI-powered body detection motion capture pipeline between a depth sensor and game camera and game engine, user experience and technical execution of real-time experience for site-specific environments such as outdoor places, integration technology protocols to support server latency, and exploration of user experience of multiple bodies through AI camera detection. So our methodology uses observational evaluation of digital solution, user testing workshops with a dancer, which we will talk a bit more about those in this presentation, think aloud protocol used with the dancer and projected piece, and qualitative questionnaires.
So what we did, what our role was here, we are the research partner at Teesside University. So our aim is to support the creation of this XR artwork for display and discover the affordances of the motion captured performances from crowds. We provided the project management, which are the usual things you can see in the slide there. And the research outcomes are that once the project is deployed to an audience, we can gather embodied and observational data to inform papers and conference presentations.
So when we began the project, we broke down our tech pipeline. So when you hear the word full body interaction, we wanted to, the hardware that we needed to use was a 3D sensor, infrared camera detection. We'd already had experience working with webcams, which didn't include infrared, and also the Xbox Connect. But we wanted to look at something that offered a more progressed solution, and also that now exists within the industry, whereas the Microsoft Connect has discontinued. And this is a lot more discreet also for exhibition purposes. And we use the software, game engine software, Unreal Engine for this. I mean, most of you probably know it's a leading game engine software for virtual production and XR technology. And the goal was really to combine these movements of the participant in a runtime real experience to give them an interactive play. And the way to bridge these two together, we did some research and we found that there was a need for a third-party software that can be used on top to also track the body for motion capture using the webcams. And from this starting point, there can be a synergy between these technologies to fully capture the body and translate it into a virtual being within the game engine experience. So we found this software API called NuiTrack, and this is an ultimate 3D body tracking solution that enabled body motion analytics for immersive applications for any platform. So it was really good and agnostic to work with. So just going to the next slide, here's just a little diagram of how the project worked. We were looking at multi-users, a multiplayer experience, which NuiTrack did offer as well as an option for our work, up to 6 in the license that we've been using. And Unreal Engine also connected with the NuiTrack plugin. And this the NuiTrack is on the right-hand side, which provided this strong skeletal tracking baseline for immersive applications and real-time gesture tracking. And this, the right-hand window is what you would see on the application, which would then be fed in through AI to get it to connect with the avatar within the game.
So our workshop outcomes, in general, we had a greater understanding of embodiment as a narrative tool. There was a lot of development and discussion around avatar design, and digital body representation came out of those discussions. Onboarding decisions in public spaces, exposed nuances in UX development, technology learnings, ethics and accessibility. So just thinking about some of these ideas around embodied knowing, Western thought often creates a duality between mind and body privileging the intellect as the seat of self. We are, as Bloch and Kissel write, apt pupils of Descartes' idea that we are spirits in a machine. So we conducted limited user testing with our dancer, Anthony, whose work helped us tap into the power of embodied felt knowledge. Dance offers unique insight into what it means to be a body subject, body knower, and body expresser. And Laban's theory of movement, particularly his idea of movement thinking, aligns with this idea and Anthony's approach. Anthony vocalized his movement thinking in real time. By physically sensing his responses, he illuminated how bodily experience can enrich narrative understanding. He says, I think as a physical performer, I'd naturally want to move my body in more of a technical way, leaning into my dance education. But there's a curiosity in your body that replicates what a child would do. You go into responsive and playful ways of moving. Audience members can bring their own embodied memories, shaped by family, institutions, language, art, and rituals, into the immersive space. And Laban suggests human movement is imbued with inner meaning and the potential for awareness and transformation. Again, Anthony talks to us about his experiences working with both the particles and the seaweed interaction. So these images that you see on screen, the one on the left is from workshop 2, and the one on the right is from workshop 1. So we used the learnings from workshop 1 to develop further the design of the avatar and the narrative ideas. So he says, The particle systems and seaweed interactions create a sense of being in your head more, with more opportunities for self-reflection and bringing your experiences to that experience. Whereas the body of water interaction felt very much closer to the reality of being in water. For example, when it goes over your head, your instant reaction is to take a breath, a fight or flight reaction. We could understand this as movement thinking, a way of revealing memory and reflection. In Glacies, these embodied reflections deepen narrative understanding, unlike traditional film stories where meaning is tightly controlled through editing. Shall I skip the bit about avatars? We were kind of running
We've
out.
only got a minute left, haven't we? So
I'm just going to quickly go over this. So our tech and UX learnings, we did learn quite a lot on this. So the first one was the opportunity to utilize virtual production solutions for post-production. As it's a camera, even though it's just one angle, it's still enabling potential creators or smaller studios to be able to develop their avatar presence and have that physical play between the digital studio and the physical movement when they don't necessarily have access to a motion capture space. It could also, if you were designing for something that wasn't like a mannequin and a human body and it was more abstracted form, we could actually cut down animation times, as you know, with motion capture tracking. That's fairly obvious as well. We also saw this as an augmented reality prototype for live experience. So through the combined work of Anthony, narrative development and interaction design, we've been able to develop more of an understanding of how to iterate non-human characters. But there was a challenge of also thinking, working with animators and animation designers about this idea of a 3D space, but designing for a 2D wall. So that's something that's quite an interesting field for us to be expanding on. But what we're really excited about for the next step is gesture tracking and thinking about how the character itself or the performer or participant can engage with the world and be more embedded with the digital space, but also how they interact with the physical space. There could be collisions, and we can start to think about this experience becoming more of a game or an interactive space to sort of collide with things, gesture track. So yeah, that's it.
So some of the challenges we had was working remotely. We were Lucy's in London, we're up in Teesside. So it can slow testing, iteration, and sometimes conclusive research. And until the 5G cloud is working amazingly, we've got a long way to go still. The AI solution NuiTrack, if it didn't, it was flagged as potentially malicious on university machines. So working with public sector using this tech may be a problem in the future. And also obsolete technology. Teesside is now a projector-free environment, so we had issues with that as well.
Okay, this is just an example of when we have more than one body in front of the camera. So just in terms of what's happening next, we are exhibiting what we have so far at the North Shields 800 event in October, and we'll also be exhibiting at York Minster alongside Anthony's dance piece, The Guest. This will give us more opportunities for user testing and to trying out some of these ideas that we've learned. And we're looking at developing collaborations with charities and tech investment bodies such as Sunderland Culture, and developing a tour and digital literacy workshops in kind of coastal areas. And finally, in hindsight, one of the things that we think about is maybe our methodology may need a redesign. So using language and mind thinking to explain movement thinking is potentially limiting. Analyzing screen recordings may offer more direct insights. So movement thinking offers a pathway to embodied knowledge, especially important in an age of digital and AI-mediated bodies. This practice can foster bodily awareness, deepen connection, and potentially provoke behavioural change. By situating glacis in a coastal public spaces, we aim to inspire more sustainable, interconnected relationships between humans and the environment, contributing to the larger effort of addressing the climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claire, Ellie, and Lucy. So we want to move to Donatella and Ben for our second presentation. And again, please start noting questions in the Q&A at the bottom, and we'll come to them at the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Can I just check you can see that okay?
Not yet. I can't see it, but
Yeah, I can see it okay.
Okay, great.
okay, then I will start. I can't see the projection yet, but it will come, I'm sure. So hello everybody. Thank you so much for having us. Great to be presenting this research. Thank you, XR Network and XR Stories, for the inspiration and the support. Thank you to all who are attending today. I'm Donatella Barbieri, reader in critical costume practices and lecturer, reader in critical costume practices and culture. I am fortunate to be working with my colleague Ben Turnbull, who's senior lecturer in performance technologies, and who will follow the second half of the presentation. We both work at London College of Fashion, University of the Arts, London. I will speak initially on the broad aims that informed our ongoing research. Ben will take you through what this looks like from his perspective. The research overall has two research strands: dancing woman. I hope this is showing on the screen. I can't see it, but I'm sure everyone else can, so that's good. Jamini Roy's modernist painting, from which we are generating a second project, which is now at the prototype stage. So given the paucity of time today, we will focus primarily, however, on the Whispering Forest, which is much more advanced, on which we worked for the last couple of years. It enables us to untangle Yoruba tales, eco-criticality, trans-species narrative, AV performance, technologies, and community co-creation. The Whispering Forest, for the Whispering Forest, Ben and I represent a majority Pan-African Yoruba collective of artists and makers whom we have coalesced with us to work on this. While minoritized, Ben and I, as researcher, are the initiator of the researcher and co-producers with the collective, and co-producer of its performed outcomes. Making space for digital performance from a Yoruba and Pan-African perspectives enables us to go beyond the Eurocentric paradigm that dominates digital performance, whilst exposing the eco-criticality of Yoruba tales and culture. Next slide, please. I can't. Okay, so with composer Helene Pega and dancer Fumi Opeyemi and the community of co-creators, we have established in our work last year with percussionist Richard Olatunde. We have now expanded to include new co-creators such as vocalist Toyin Gambedo, and including all of the people that we've been working with, or as many of them as possible going forwards. Our aims have become more specific. So we're engaging highly relevant yet neglected ancient orally transmitted trans-species tales that regulate the relationship between human and the environment through dance, textile, voice, drumming. And we intend for this to be encountered through AR experience, ideally in the museum, but elsewhere as well, as we will discuss later. XR production as an enabler of community building, particularly in relationship to Yoruba Pan-African London diasporas. And finally, key aim is the creation through the technology of decentered and accessible performance practices, offering untold stories in the museum space. So the outcomes at the moment are two co-created public performances of the Whispering Forest, one currently in production to be shown at the Dancing City, 6 September, at LCFUAL East Bank. Please come along. And one that has been completed on the 6th of March, Thursday late at the Honeymoon Museum. These engage audiences in an interactive experience, including as much as possible the community of co-creators built around the projects of the last couple of years. And a third aim is to advance scholarship. We are currently working on an article co-authored between 8 of the co-creators across both the Dancing Woman Project and the Whispering Forest. Next slide, please. So we modeled a translocal approach through Yoruba and Nigeria-based dramaturg Babatunde Alambakare. His and others' research on a Gangan performance, a film he created with his students, and a co-authored research article with him enabled us to explore the initial approaches that have informed this research. Underlining a non-human recentering, a focus on dispersed agency, the relationality at the core of Yoruba philosophy is performed through textile and technology in our work. Performance as social connecting tissue, textile as weaving communities together, connecting to ancestors, and critically for our research on to how non-human tech aligns with such agential and relational networks, recentering dynamics of interactive storytelling in community and environmental-centered African philosophy, environmental-centered African philosophy. Next slide, please.
With her.
Thank you. A critical agential network is the museum itself. A space that theorized through the concept of the distributed museum is a museum that is not only as a space, but a conceptual and physical network, a place, but it is not only a place, but also a conceptually and physically network space, which model on new media and digital practices connects connected objects, technology, diasporas of creative artists and audiences. Several Yoruba objects were bought in Nigeria by the Honima Museum in the 1990s as part of the first ever exhibition of Yoruba art in the UK, and encountered in the archive. They have played a critical role in the development of our work. They have certainly underlined the necessity of multiple disciplines and voice in the co-creation as the many hands that co-created the objects, and in the collective working centered around making digital performance. Next, as this is my final slide. So such meetings of tech and ancient African culture orients our project towards Afrofuturist intent, which centers ancient culture through XR technologies, implicating different methodologies and moving away from conventional performance-making hierarchy. We ensured, for example, that no one ever worked alone and that there was a democratic structure in the shaping of the project whenever it was possible, wherever it was possible, including the materials having their own voices, of course, beyond the human and human relational aspects of our work. Babatunde Alambakare's translation of the orally transmitted tale was about the multiplicities of species and the coexistence and the fruitful coexistence. The two non-human characters in the story, performed by Fumi Opeyemi in different costumes, are Ijapa, the tortoise representing extractive human behavior that destroys the forest, and the forest spirits that rebuild it. In a battle that Ijapa eventually loses, the idea of self-service and destructive instincts are pegged against the entangled quality of the forest spirits and their endless transforming. Through a Gangan touring theatre, they are related to the tale of Moremi, an iconic 12th century queen who saved her people from extinction. So here I'm handing it over to Ben.
Okay, I'm aware of time, so I'll try and fly through this. I'm Ben Turnbull. I'm Senior Lecturer in Performance Technology and Design at London College of Fashion and a digital sonographer as well. So this project builds upon the XR network funded prototype that we did last year, which was an augmented reality dance performance for mobile phones. So it enabled us to continue embedding immersive 3D volumetric scanning and how we can use these technologies to be ethically to tell stories and to bring to life objects within the museum. So this was a proof of concept made for the Horniman Museum as a demonstration that we can successfully tell stories weaved into collections, the exhibition at the time being one celebrating 60 years of Nigerian independence. So this augmented reality experience became a springboard for our most recent project, the Whispering Forest. mixed reality performance event created with Yoruba VR designer and Unity developer Tosin Olafon. It was essential for developing these performances and for the telling of these tales and for the development of the digital sonography, that we also had that perspective from the Yoruba community, which was missing from our earlier prototype. This performance took place on the 6th of March, as Donatella said, and was part of the Horniman Lates program. We developed it for the MetaQuest 3 headset, and the performance is inclusive of live and physical performance, as I think you can hopefully see from that small video there, as well as so there's the digital augmented layers merging with the physical environment, and also we were considering the lighting in the space and how we composite physical and augmented assets. Come on, there we go. You can get a sense of the environment from this video shot and the aesthetic qualities of the volumetrically captured costume performance from the perspective of the viewer in the headset. So this is recorded at LC, London College of Fashion this time. And you can see the performance being framed within the window, but without the live performance aspects. And so hopefully I think this goes a small way to communicate that the environment, the physical, the augmented is critical to the embodied performance narrative, the story we're telling. Some screenshots there. So this is from Fumi playing both characters. She was the character of the forest spirits, and also Ijapa, the tortoise. And extended reality technologies, they're also really critical to the communal development of the performance space. So how we have worked is a really communal and collaborative approach. And so the brushstrokes and the markings you see here were created by the whole project team. And this is created from a workshop that was initially developed by myself and digital spatial artist Ravin Raori. We've done sort of many different iterations. So some people that created this were online, some in VR headsets at London College of Fashion, some on laptops, some on their phones, and everyone working together to collaborate in real time to create this environment that then Tosin developed further by applying the material textures inherent in the actual physical costume Fumi was wearing. And just quickly, you can see some of the processes here. Should have done a technical diagram. I didn't for this performance, but we used 10 femto bolt cameras, which were situated within the space and calibrated to record a performance sequence. And so it records everything that takes place in a defined volume, for those that are not aware of the processes. And I think you can gain a sense of hopefully this communal creation. And there's a collaborative input of many creative artists from across UAL. The pop-up studio was amazingly supported and provided by Terry Quinn and Chris Follows at Camberwell College of Art. And one way what this way of working engenders is this, it's much more conventional, so kind of, I guess, like more like akin to a film shoot where you have sort of many voices at the point of creation and at the point of recording the performance, and the little celebration you can see at the end there. And yeah, some more images there and from the performance at the Horniman. And just with an eye and a nod to the future, I did want to mention the second project a little bit. It's a second prototype. It's still being, the development's ongoing with Ravin Raori, who I just mentioned, performer Ashani Ghosh, and Tommy Kosler, the composer, and many others made this incredible 6-meter long sari, which is enabling us to test alternative methods of performance capture. So from a technological and performance making viewpoint, we're exploring here and testing stereoscopic filmmaking and compositing 3D stereoscopic images within 3D built environments and 3D models from a photogrammetry process as well. So building all of that into 3D narrative environments. So that's something else we're kind of testing in parallel. And those are references, and thank you very much. We'll stop sharing now.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ben and Donatella, and all our speakers. If you could just stop sharing there, Ben, when you find the right button, that'll be great. Brilliant. Thank you. I'd like to welcome back Claire, Dan, and Ellie, and Lucy. Thank you to our question Q&A session, so we'll spend maybe 10 minutes on this or so now. Again, I encourage you to put your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen, and we'll work through them as we can. And we do have one question already from Catherine Wright, who says, thanks Claire, Ellie and Lucy. Looking forward to seeing progress so far at York Minster. So am I, actually. Have you already had any discussions with the communities you're hoping to engage? So a good question there about communities as part of the R&D process, and indeed as part of your audiences. Who'd like to take that?
I can start. So yeah, we've been talking to the fishing community down on the Fish Quay at North Shields. We've also been talking to the heritologists. They're a group of people that do a lot of work around the heritage of North Shields Fish Quay. And then the next stage for us is to really start to engage with some of the community groups. So, for example, Anthony runs a youth dance group. So we want to involve them in some user testing, and also the Young Women's Film Academy, which is sort of based in Newcastle. And they have a lot of their members are neurodiverse. And one thing we haven't really talked about in this presentation is, yeah, we're looking at this idea of, looking at neurodiversity, but also we looked at what it looks like if you aren't standing. So Anthony would work with a chair, and it picks the body up in really great ways as well. So it's a really kind of accessible piece as well. Do you want to add anything, Lucy?
Okay. Yes, just around, we're really in the communities that we want to work with as well. We're really interested in that sort of multi-sense way of learning as well. So beyond just sight and sound, I think when we start to work more with communities, we want to think about other senses, smell, but also perception and how you feel within a space and movement. So that's like how we're going to sort of approach that.
I think we could add that Donatella and Ben's project offer a really good model of co-creation as well.
Yeah.
From.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to just build on some of the points you raised there, particularly around the idea of different body types. And I suppose I had a technological question, which was why you use the Intel camera versus, I guess, motion tracked, a standard sort of mocap system that you would maybe engage with dancers normally, and how that then extends to users, audience members, exhibition goers, again, with different body types, different levels of movement ability. What were your thoughts around that sort of process? For Claire, Ellie and Lucy.
Do you want to answer that, Lucy? Or
Firstly, it was very clear in our first workshop that we were using the standard mannequin, which we never really ever planned to have long term. That's more as like a tech, like us just working within the tech parameters. But as also an all-female team, we felt it was also maybe gendered to one gender more than like being more multi-gendered. So we were, and one of the key design elements was creating a like less of a human avatar form, so it's a bit more abstracted. And the seaweed kind of also it's like multiple entities within one as well. We played around with Niagara as well as a way to see like how, yeah, the character can exist in a sort of more like less sort of static body sense. So that's one part of it. And then also to do with like movement across the space. I think that was really where the idea around how you stand or move in the space can be open to interpretation. I'm sure I've missed some points.
And I can add to that a bit. And I think the choice of using the depth sensor camera was because it links to the computer vision, so it had the body detection. So yes, there may be problems. I mean, I think it did pick us up when we were sitting down, so I think it should obviously needs further testing, but I think it should be accessible because it's computer vision.
Yes, it's a 3D sensor, so it can be used it's best in a lighter space. However, we did the videos that you saw of the seaweed moving, that was in a dark space, and that was really important for us to be able to pick up on it not being a pixel-based camera tracking solution, but a skeletal tracking solution that is more open-ended to public spaces, which was the original proposal, rather than being confined to motion.
And that's another reason we couldn't suit everybody up in a crowd as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So that brings. Sorry, Lucy, carry on.
Oh, I've also worked a lot with motion capture as well, and I found for something to be more of an open opportunity, it could actually be used in motion capture studios as well, or in advance to preparing a project, because I was working on designing the avatar and the velocity and how the seaweed moves. I could, if I wanted to take it to motion capture, that design process could be worked on before and save time for any other sort of cases.
Brilliant. And I just wanted to expand on I guess where you started with your project proposal versus what you've been doing as part of your R&D, is that there is a role for audiences in this experience ultimately, as you move out into the public realm. And so what's your thought there? Have you had a chance to test it with any sort of even limited audiences, or is it just with the project team? And how do you envisage that an audience might change your process?
I think we haven't tested it outside of the project team yet, so that is our next steps. For me, one of the things I've been thinking about is sort of like onboarding, you know, and that kind of, you know, like what Anthony was talking about. And I think depending on which character or avatar we're using, you have to do quite sort of like slow movements to kind of get this kind of like flowing. You kind of have to work out what it's doing. Whereas I suppose, you know, one of the places we're going to have it is in a shopping centre. So it's just going to be people approaching it in a shopping centre. They might not have time. They might just get in front and go like this. And then they're maybe not learning the interaction. So I think the onboarding is important, whether that's something about a couple of prompts on the floor, whether it means we're there to kind of prompt things, maybe it's in the audio. So that's been a big thing for me to kind of think about.
Brilliant. Thank you. And so I'm going to ask a sort of a similar question to Donna, Heather, and Ben, in that you have done some audience testing, and again, it was highlighted sort of, you know, the exemplar of co-creation that your project might be. So, what role did the audience have in shaping how the project was developing, or in how you responded to how they interacted with what you had designed?
So we were very lucky, just going to briefly say and then hand over to Ben, that we were able to engage Cami Jones, one of our as audience engagement, specifically in audience engagement. And we have full reports that in fact, part of our writing process is about that. And but Ben can say more about it, but obviously there's lots of positivity in everything. But the thing that is now making us do changes is the clarity around the story, to make sure that that's coming across, because you can get lost in the experience and lose the thread of the story. And even though it's a very simple tale, we still don't want it to just be about experience. We want it to have some kind of a questioning role and drawing attention to specific aspects of the story. But Ben can say more because he was actually there with the audience at the time.
Yeah, no, so we tested it, well, obviously at the Horniman, but also in advance of that, to like test audiences that we did at LCF as we were developing the experience. That enabled that led to us. I just want to sort of pick up what Lucy and Ellie and Claire were saying about, you know, onboarding and the sort of importance of onboarding, and the onboarding being, you know, very much kind of part of the experience, and the offboarding at the end. So that was, you know, important in terms of who was doing the onboarding and what relationship, who were they in this story that the audience was experiencing, became a really critical part that we hadn't fully considered before that. So, and then there was, you know, it led to the clarity, developing the clarity in the story that Donatella referred to, but also like who the audience were like in this story. So what is the agency and what power do they have to, can they impact the narrative in that, you know, in those ways? And that led to a lot of questions for us, because, you know, it was like, well, how do we start building in this sort of sense of agency, and the sense of like, you know, the audience being the sort of players, that they have an effect, that they see, and that, but they're also sort of feel seen within the experience.
Yeah.
So those points and around that sense of agency and who everybody in the room is was sort of, you know, really rapidly began to inform the projects as we were developing it into and including the Horniman, and now sort of forward into dancing
Yeah.
systems.
Brilliant, thank you. And we've got a question online from Carl Miller. Thanks, Carl. So really fascinating projects. Thank you. I'm interested to know more about the envisaged interrelationship between the dance performer and the sari in Donatella and Ben's second project. Again, only a hint of what's to come. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So with the dancer Aishani Ghosh, sorry, who Ben has mentioned already and shown her, is already somebody who we have a little bit of a relationship. So she understands the way we work with costume as an active agent in performance making, all outside of the digital realm. But so we were interested in exploring how this bursting out of the frame might look like, because this is what the paintings were doing. What the paintings are doing is a kind of bursting outside of an imposed frame of femininity. So there was quite a really interesting conversation that is ongoing about that and how we frame and how we present it. This is, I have to say, is very much in collaboration with Nissan Richer Studio, who are where the project comes from. So we were very fortunate in being able to engage this incredible exhibition making, exhibition design and architecture firm, and work with them. And we had a history of working with them, with Echo and Pippa and Kate and other colleagues at Nissan Richer Studio. And so this is quite a slow process, working around what we've done so far and then responding to it and taking the next steps. We're hoping that this will take us take us somehow digitally to a museum in India, and that's where we are. But Ben will have other things to say, I'm sure, on this one, because he's got different perspective.
Not really. I mean, I think, yeah, it's really early days with that, but it, you know, I guess what we, you know, the root of what we're exploring is the title of it, which is about accessible hybrid performances. And with that, you know, being able to develop this with Nissan Richards and go, okay, well, what would a museum like need, and what would be the technologies in order to really kind of embed this in a way that is truly accessible. So that led us to start exploring, you know, stereoscopic means and compositing, because ultimately, you know, that, I mean, in terms of it's cheap in terms of accessibility, and is a process familiar to people with a background in like filmmaking already. So that's kind of what drove that project with Nissan Richards, is those really the consideration specifically around accessibility.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. We have no more open questions and we're nearly at time. So I'm going to say thank you again to all our participants and amazing projects. And again, just a hint of what's to come for both of you in terms of what you're doing next with your work, and can't wait to hear about that. So thank you very much, everybody, and thank you to our audience. And so just before we finish, I'm just going to give a bit of a wrap up of what you can look forward to in more generally in terms of XR Network Plus. So let me just put my slide back on. Right, there we go. Hopefully you can see that. XR Network Plus, virtual production in the digital economy. So this week is busy. We're off to the University of Bath on Wednesday to the Centre for the Analysis of Motion, Entertainment Research and Applications, known as CAMERA. And what we're going to be talking about there is some of the two projects that are just coming to an end that we've worked on with the Royal Shakespeare Company, one with the University of Bath, one with the Central School of Speech and Drama. So there'll be an opportunity to hear about those projects. We've got a panel discussion on creative technology landscape in the southwest of England. And we're going to be launching our next funding call, which is for collaboration and innovation between researchers, technicians, businesses and creators working in XR and VP, focused on collaboration between technical spaces. So there'll be more on that on our website and via our social media channels later this week, and there's still tickets available if you want to visit us or are able to come and share with us at the University of Bath on Wednesday, and the QR code to the Eventbrite page is there. So this is our last online seminar for the summer, and our next one is scheduled for 3:30 on the 25th of September on simulation and XR, and focuses on projects that are a collaboration between Royal College of Art, universities, North South Wales, Sydney and Foster and Partners, and London College of Fashion again, Copper Candle, Imogen Fox and Annette Olleranshaw. So please join us again online in September for that, and we'll make sure information about that goes out online well before. And a date for your diaries, we're having our next in-person event actually in York, which is actually the first proper XR Network Plus event that we're having in York. It's going to be a showcase of the projects that we've supported so far, as well as some key speakers, and again trying to shape how the next 2 years of our project are going to develop. And it'd be great to have as many people as possible to be part of that discussion and to come and visit us at the Guildhall space in the centre of York. And if you want to keep up to date with that and other related activities that we are engaged upon, we've got a website, XR Network Plus. You can follow us on Twitter, X and LinkedIn, and find out particularly about the funding opportunity that's going to be published this week. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your afternoons in the warmth. And again, thanks so much to our contributors and the projects that you've worked up over these last few months, and they look great, and I'm very much looking forward to how they develop into the future. So thank you very much, everybody, and I'll see you either in Bath online in September or in York in October. Thank you.